Hello fellow egoists, today we're going for a different kind of video. I'll be honest, I don't have much time this week. As you might see, it's pretty late for me and I'm kind of rushing this video at least to give some content because I won't be able to for the following week. So this will just be a sort of freestyle in-depth analysis. I will not be going over small details that don't necessarily need attention since they're pretty self-explanatory, such as Uber's reaction, since it's pretty, well, they're basically saying things that are straight to the point. So let's just head straight into it. The first detail I want to talk about is Lorenzo saying that this was worth 100 millions, this goal. So here we might be getting the infamous triple jump up name of next chapter, since we know that Isagi is currently 50 millions worth. So add on top of that the 100 million and the potential goal that he just got, that he got at the beginning of the match, and we might be seeing a 150 million bid. We will have to see, but it would be around this. So the triple jump up might just be either for Isagi's bid, so 150 million, or also for his jump in terms of rankings, which might mean we might get Isagi as the first, though as you see there's Rin getting a hat-trick, so highly doubtable, but we will see anyway. Now, we also see Barrow's reaction, which I'm kind of sad. I wish we had more, so I hope in the next chapter we'll get a bit more of that. Now, we get into Ness. We see that Ness calls this kind of chemical reaction fucking disgusting, etc. And so there's two options for me. Either Ness is coping here, or Ness actually thinks this is disgusting. But whatever happens in his mind, the important part is that we see that he's sort of entranced by Isagi's essence, as he says, the magic of Isagi. And we know that the theme of magic for Ness is something deeply important for him, right? And this leads to one of my theories, which I may do a video about. But basically, we know that our dear Ness has Kaiser as his chain, basically. As we see, we have the blue roses of Kaiser as his chains, and we know that chains are something players are meant to break. There are sort of limitations. So for Hiyori, his limitations were actually his unwillingness to play football, the sort of small color that he had, along with the weight that his parents gave, that was referenced in his light novel, which I won't get into too much in depth. And so as we see, the key for Hiyori was to wanting to create the best striker in the world, and this key came from, where is it? It's around here, not really, yeah. It first came from the fact that he wanted to make Isagi the best striker in the world, but in the end it wasn't only about Isagi. In the end it was about creating the best striker in the world, and it's simply that Isagi was the one who could be that key, basically. Also, we just see that the design of the key also kind of changed, which is a bit weird, but whatever, it is what it is. So there's that, and so I think that we might be getting a Ness to potentially betray Kaiser to go with Isagi, as we see since he's entranced, and that if the color, the chains that are keeping Ness's potential down or Kaiser, then the key must be something other than Kaiser. So Isagi could be a potential candidate to be the key to unlocking this potential, since Ness and Hiyori are pretty much similar in the essence of wanting to help their striker awaken. So this is something, I mean, there's more to go in depth into, but we'll get there when I potentially make the video about it. Of course, we have Kaiser's reaction, which is basically just him and his soulmate being edgy twins. Though what's really interesting is that this is the first time we're seeing Kaiser this emotional, right? And this goes into the fact that Kaiser seems to have a lot of insecurities, which I talked about in my video about the Naked Emperor, which is also a theme that goes hand in hand with Ness potentially betraying Kaiser. But I recommend you check out that video, I'll link it in the description. There's a lot more to say about this, but I'll also make a video about Kaiser's potential moving forward, what his backstory might be, so stay tuned for that. And now we get to the most important part of this chapter, in my opinion at least, which is how partnership should work in the world of BLLK. So the important part is that for Hiyori, partnerships don't work if both are understanding and playing off of each other, right? So an example of that would be this play that they did, where they basically were trying to link up based on the abilities of one another and what the other was going to do, right? Which made it so that people were able to see this, and so which is why Lorenzo was able to come here, or the fact that Kaiser was able to even guess what their plan was going to be, right? Which is, as he said, Isagi and Kun and I were in perfect sync, but they were able to stop them, etc. There was also this play from Nagi and Reo, where all that Reo did here was find the dream that Nagi had, which was of beating Isagi. As Reo said, he's calling me, and that dream was around Isagi. There's also the example of Sae in the U20 match, where what Sae did here was simply link up to the image that Shido had, all bull's eyes, fly Marcel's, which led us to Dragon Drive. So those types of partnerships aren't correct quote-unquote partnerships, or at least true partnerships in the world of Blue Lock. A true partnership is, as Hiyori says, when both characters have a goal that they intersect at, even if their paths aren't the same. So this is really important because what it tells us is that, for example, for our dear Nagi, for Reo and Nagi to work, they need a dream that works together. But the problem is that what we know of Nagi is that after this goal that he makes past Kaiser and Isagi, he doesn't really know what to do, right? We see his dream, his ego sort of die, and so this is a showing of how Nagi needs growth now. As we see his aura disappearing, etc. But most importantly, where is it? It's around here. Yeah, what comes next after beating Isagi? And this is what leads us to the fact that Nagi is getting a potential downfall, because as we know, we have Nagi not scoring at all. And so this is an incentive basically for Nagi to find a new goal. But the problem is that we know that Nagi even got this goal of beating Isagi only because he was beaten by Isagi. So the only way for Nagi to find a new goal with the way his ego works, from what we know, is for him to get beaten, but like to the death, right? Being beaten when the football is at the hottest. But there is another way, though I won't get too much into it since, how could I say? This would take a long while to explain. I should make a video about that. I know I'm saying that a lot, but honestly, there's a lot of stories that are intersecting with this chapter, so it's a bit hard to tell. But anyway, this chapter is really important for Reo and Nagi. If you like them, I highly recommend you trying to figure it out on your own and see what is the potential future of those two. Anyway, also we have of course the key of Hiyori, which we already talked about, and an important thing is that we already had hints to the fact that Hiyori would end up this way. I already talked a lot about that in the Striker's Pathmaker video, which is this one. I highly recommend you watch it. In this video, I basically predicted literally all of Hiyori's potential evolution, and quite literally all of his evolution, really, in terms of themes. So I highly recommend watching it so that you understand a bit deeper Hiyori's motivations and why it even went this way. Of course, we get the fact that he's sort of turning into a Sae, right? The speech that he's having is basically the same that Sae had when he was talking about the fact that he will only go for the hottest striker currently on the field, which should be around 141, I don't remember. Anyway, if it's taking too long to reload, we won't care, yada yada. And of course, we get the infamous PXG with Rin. And so, first off, the first thing to know is that Rin is trying to fight Nagi in a trapping contest. And what does it... it gives us a sort of callback to what we know of Rin in the U20 match, which was that he was trying to let the opponent bring out their best and destroy them in a show of dominance. So this is exactly what he did here, by going for Nagi's strongest weapon, which was trapping, and beating him in a duel like that. The second important part is of course the fact that he was able to do this shot, and the really important part is that in this shot we also see how it's pretty similar to Shido's Dragon Drive in terms of paneling. It's a bit hard to show you this way, but if we put them side to side, we should be able to see it. Let me just... Okay. So if we go like that, so we see how similar they kind of are, right? Even in the way the arc is of the trajectory. So pretty similar. And the second thing to note is also how this play happened. Basically, we had Ren running into the ball, doing his play and scoring. And it's kind of similar to the way he talked about what he was when he was playing with Sai, which was that he just thinks about scoring, dashes to the critical point, and the pass will come. And the important part is that where the enemy will panic and fall apart is that critical point. And what happens? Ren beats in a 1v1 Nagi, and everyone is absolutely shocked because of that, which makes it so that they aren't able to react in time for Ren, and they Ren immediately scores off of that. So this is a showing that there might be someone that's good enough in PXG to be able to have Ren play the way he did back when he was playing with Sai. So we have someone who should be at least able to understand Ren on the same level that Sai was back in their childhood. So this could be once again the fact that everyone thinks there's a new Gen 11 player in PXG, but basically I'm pretty sure personally that there's at least a good enough midfielder in PXG that is able to link up with Ren and Shido. Top on that, the fact that once again no one could handle Ren when he was playing following his original ego, and we have that. And also to show that Ren is once again playing following his original ego, I recommend that you check out my newest video, which is about, of course, what will Rinza in the U20 match, and they were showing that our dear egoist is using his original ego to the max. Anyway, with this I think the analysis is done. There's a lot more to say, but I won't get too much into it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See ya, have a great one, fellow egoists.